What's up, everybody? I hope y'all are having a wonderful day. I'm Anthony. On today's video, we are going to have a short conversation, one that is of the utmost importance, and it is going to be the skill or trait that you need to have if you want to succeed at self-reliance. Alright, so I'm not going to beat around the bush. That skill or trait that I'm talking about is going to be adaptation, or can you adapt to whatever happens to be thrown in front of you? The reason why I'm talking about it today is because I have yet another failure. Yes, I know a lot of y'all think that because I run a YouTube channel, that because I like to grow a lot of my own food, that I basically have things figured out. But guess what? Just because you've been doing something for so long does not mean that you don't fail. I still fail, and if you pay attention behind me, you'll see one of those failures. See that? That is my Three Sisters garden that I've been growing since the middle of March. Long story short, I've been doing videos on my members only section about how to actually grow a Three Sisters garden. Since I know a lot of people like to talk about it, they like to read from a book, hey, it works this way, you can just plan it and it'll work. But they've never actually seen it happen in real life, or actually seen somebody do it or done it themselves. So I wanted to show my viewers, my subscribers, the ones that actually pay for the membership, 99 cents a month, not really that big of a deal, but I wanted to show them how to do it. And at the end of the season, when I got to the time of harvest, I was going to go ahead and compile all those videos together to show you exactly what I did and show the harvest for everybody to see, because I don't think there should be a paywall for everybody to see stuff. Just, you know, see things first. So I did all this work, I planted all this stuff. By the time I got done amending the soil and planting and whatever, I finally got to the point where it's like, all right, good. The corn's already up, the corn's tall, we are tasseling, we are even silking, so we are in that home stretch. And then this week happened. What happened was we got a gnarly bunch of storms that came through, one about 2 nights ago, that really took a toll on a lot of the corn. It knocked this mound and this mound completely over. Well, I said, okay, well, I just lost 2 mounds, not a big deal. The next day, we got another very violent storm, one that dropped 2 inches of rain in 2 hours with hardcore winds, and it knocked the rest of these down. And it didn't just, like, you know, lay them over a little bit or fold them down, but it actually bent the stalks. So out of, probably had what, 35 planted, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 remaining, 10 corn stalks remaining. So I'm leaving it be the way it is because, you know, that's what you do. But that's why I wanted to talk about adaptation to y'all, or being able to adapt, because I think it's a very valuable lesson. Now, I know I'm speaking to the choir to a lot of y'all, but some of you really need to hear this, so that's why I want you to pay attention. In the military, we have a saying, or it's not just the military, but in the Marine Corps specifically, we have a saying. It's called Semper Gumby. It's a play on our Semper Fidelis motto, meaning always faithful. Semper Gumby meaning always adapting, being able to change, because Gumby is flexible. He can adapt to things, he can change, he's always moving. So that's the whole thing. If you Semper Gumby, you are always able to change your plans immediately, because if you've ever been in any kind of military, not just the Marine Corps, you know that plans change all the time, on the fly, and you have to just do whatever you're told in that time. So, you know, you don't get to plan things out a day in advance. Sometimes things will change 15 minutes prior to that 15 minutes prior. That's why you always show up early. So when it comes down to it, you have to be able to think on the fly, okay? And that trait, being able to have that, is probably one of the most advantageous traits that you can have, especially if you want to be a prepper, self-reliant, or in a survivability situation. We were in a scenario where this was my primary food source, and I planted acres of the Three Sisters, and we had that storm come through right as everything was actually tasseling. That would absolutely decimate my food crop ability to be able to store things for the wintertime, okay? That could be the difference between starving that following year, before, you know, you're not be able to make it through wintertime, okay? This could be disaster if I lived 200 years ago. But I live in an era where I can go out and buy my food if I need to. But if I couldn't, this thing could be catastrophic. So because this happened, I have to be able to think on my feet. Luckily, this is not my only garden. This is not my only food source. I have my main garden over there. You've seen it in videos. That's still producing just fine. But this was my grain crop for the year. So because this happened, it's putting me in a situation where I don't have what I planned for. And I wanted to give y'all a very realistic, bare bones showing of what can happen. I've been doing this for a decade now. I've been growing my own food for a very long time. I did everything right. The corn is healthy. I was fertilizing every other week. It looked good, and this thing's probably still going to produce some of what I expect. But just because you do everything right doesn't mean the factors are going to line up and work out for you as well. Things like Mother Nature are going to pop up. We are in an El Nino year, so now instead of having that long dry period in the summertime like we're used to, we're getting a very storm-heavy summer. All right, we've already had, I don't think the ground is dried out yet at all this year. Every time it's getting to the point where it's almost too dry, we get another massive storm. So I can't just plan for things like I usually get. All right, we get things that happen sometimes yearly, other years, whatever, and I have to be able to plan ahead just in case this happens. That brings me to this. This is where I had my garlic planted this past year. Now, I didn't know what I wanted to do with the bed once I harvested my garlic, so I thought about it and I said I was going to try something different because I have to be ready for scenarios like what just happened. So what I did was I wanted to try out something, so I bought sorghum. All right, some of y'all haven't heard of sorghum. Sorghum is a grain crop just like corn. It grows very tall, but you eat the seeds on top where the tassel is. So I planted some Mennonite sorghum. This style of sorghum is used to be squeezed like sugarcane to make syrup. All right, so instead of getting molasses, you're going to get syrup, but you can still eat the grains on top. So I decided to plant some to see how that would work out. So what turned out to be an experiment, or what I thought was going to turn out to be an experiment, turned into this is now going to be my main staple for the year. So I'm not going to count what happened over there as a failure, like complete failure, because I'm still going to get something, especially the beans and squash that are planted, but the corn is not going to produce near as much as I thought it would. So now I'm going to have to look at this, take care of this, and hope for the best. So I guess I'm just using this as an example of being adaptable. If I could adapt, or since I'm so used to being able to adapt, I was able to think ahead just in case something happened. I already had the second garden, and over there in reality is my secondary garden, just in case this one fails. Well, that one failed, so now I'm relying on this one, and that's why we do this stuff. So in conclusion, I wanted to show y'all a real-life example of why being ready for bad things to happen and being able to switch on a dime can be extremely beneficial to you. I'm showing you real-life examples of something that failed, and I was able to think on my feet enough in advance that that failure is not really going to hurt me in the grand scheme of things. It's still the middle of June, well, end of June, so I still have about 3 quality months of growing left. I can still rip that out if I need to plant more things if I was surviving only on that. But again, I'm just showing you an example of real life that yes, even I fail too, and if you can think in advance, or if you can be proactive and adapt, it's not going to affect you near as much as somebody who's so rigid they can't think like that. So with all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and end the video there. If you learned anything, if you like this video at all, please do me a humongous favor and give this video a thumbs up. I would very much appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel if you are not, and I'll catch you all in the next one, all right?